Okay, good evening and welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee of the Norwalk Common Council for today, Thursday, March 9th, 2023, starting at 7:05 p.m. The first item on the agenda is call to order and then the roll call. Roll call of the Finance Committee. Council Member Nora Najelski-Eichner.
Present.
Thank you. Council Member John Kides.
Here.
Council Member Brian Meeks.
Here.
And Council Member Greg Burnett. So we have a quorum. Moving on to participation. Did not receive any written submitted emails for tonight's meeting. At this time, Titsme, do we have anyone from the public that has their hand raised that wishes to speak?
There are none.
Okay, great. So with that, we will move on to item 4, which is approval of the minutes of the following Finance Committee meetings. The first one being the February 9th, 2023 regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. Councilmember Nora Najelski-Eichner moves the minutes. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? I think I saw one on the very first page, which is just a typo correction for tax assessor. The word assessor should be spelled ASSESSOR. That was the only correction I saw in the minutes. Hearing and seeing no additional, all those in favor of the February 9th, 2023 regular meeting minutes with the necessary corrections, you can show by either verbal aye or a raise of your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions?
Same.
One abstention, Councilmember Brian Meeks. Thank you. Moving on to the next minutes, which is from the February 23rd, 2023 public hearing and special meeting. Do we have a motion on these minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Nora Najelski-Eichner. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections? Okay, hearing, seeing none. All those in favor of the minutes as submitted, show by verbal aye or raise of your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you. Good. Any? So that now, so we now move to the Claims Committee report for March 2023. Item 6, narrative on the tax collection dated March 2023, and the monthly tax collectors report dated February 2023. And we have tax collector Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Chairman Burnett, you're still a tad bit muffled.
Oh,
but
really?
As long as I think we can still hear you, but it is just a little bit muffled. Starting with the claims, there were no claims that needed to be voted on for you tonight. So with your permission, I'll move on to the spreadsheet and to the narrative. Through the end of February, with regard to the current levy, we were at 96.54%. We are slightly down from where we were in the prior fiscal year, but you'll recall also that we did have a delayed billing. That supplemental motor vehicle billing for 4.5 million is payable by April 1st. Normally that's payable by February 1st. So we did anticipate a little bit of a dip. I'm not concerned about it. The payments have been coming in all right. The only real repercussion from that late mailing and also from our computer software conversion is our spring schedule is going to be a little bit delayed. Normally at this time of year, we're already filing our liens. Normally, we've already sent delinquent notices. We haven't done any of those things. We will get caught up in April. But I do have to mention the conversion, which took place on March 1st. We are now, the assessment division and the tax collectors division are now off Munis assessment and tax collection software and onto a system called QDS, Quality Data Service. I do have some information in the narrative about that. It went about as well as could be expected. And we are moving forward. It's a very different system. So we are going to be doing some education with our taxpayers. It's not customer ID number driven like our other systems were for the past 30 plus years. So we're going to be doing a little bit of training to get people used to something different, but there was a lot that went into it. I'm very, very grateful for Joyce Liu in the IT department. Her folks were great, helping us get our website up and our payment portal online. There were a few hiccups, but we're there. So we're just a little, as I said, behind schedule with regard to when we get to do our liens and our delinquent notices going into the spring. Everything will be done now on the new system. But considering everything that we went through this past winter, we're doing all right. We do still have, I did mention in there, we do still have 2 vacancies in our division. We're working with the Division of Human Resources. We have some interviews set up for later this month, and we're hoping to get those 2 positions filled before our next busy cycle, which starts in June. And I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Lisa. I do see Councilmember Brian Meek's hand raised.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I noticed the new look and feel on the property tax lookup. It looks more like what Fairfield and Trumbull are using. I have several customer records I was not able to locate. Is there still something that needs to be ironed out with like the lookups between street property address and the actual parcel being paid? And I could send you a couple examples offline. I have paid tax bills from the city of Norwalk I see are definitely not coming up in the street address.
Can you send them to me and I'll ask them? It's run by QDS. That online lookup is not ours any longer. The old one was ours. That it was our homegrown system that we created, but this is their system. But we are in pretty much constant communication with them over the past couple weeks, so I can give them those examples and have them look into it. Because if it's happening to you, it's probably happening to others, and we need to know about it.
As a practitioner, I'm going to run into dozens more of them. I will piecemeal you a couple as I run into them. A couple are behind my window now.
Okay.
But yeah, for what it's worth, the old one worked great. If we could have that back.
Yeah, I don't think we can though. Thank you though.
Okay. All right, thanks.
That was Joyce Liu's system, and she was great.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lisa? One question I did have, we're slightly behind in our collection rate, but I think you alluded to that, the change in the date of the motor vehicle. So when would we expect to see kind of a normalization compared to last year? Would that be at the end of April or end of May?
It'll at the very latest at the end of April, probably more likely have a better idea even at the end of March, because I think most of it will come in by the end of March. April 1st is the last day. But I think by the end of the March, we'll see a little bit better where we stand.
Great.
And we do also still have to send delinquent notices and things like that. So it may still be a little bit behind the end of March, but definitely by the end of April, we'll see. We'll be okay.
Good, excellent. Seeing and hearing no additional questions, would like to thank you once again for a great report, and we'll be looking forward to next month and April when we get closer to the end of the fiscal year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great.
My pleasure.
Moving on to item 8 in the agenda, which is the update on the reval process. Mr. Ford is unable to join us this evening, but I do have a few number updates as it relates to the reval that I received. And this is a report as of March 2nd. Total number of homes visited was 3,533. Properties owners at home during those visits was 543. Allowed interior inspection, 147, which is approximately 27%. The number of people residents who provided information at the door was 396. There appears to be property owners that cited COVID as concerns as the primary reason why they did not want someone to walk through their home. Most were fine providing the information at the door and allowed the inspectors to walk around the residence to verify the measurements. So we are still capturing data from that standpoint. The other point that was mentioned is that at this point in the reval, they're focusing on visiting condominiums. Usually that is their approach during the winter months. And typically these properties have more difficult to access later on in the year. So that is the current focus. Letters will be sent to property owners who were not at home to schedule an appointment for an interior inspection. And this will increase the entry rate as we continue to make visits. All residents, whether there was an inspection done or not, will receive a communication which is called a data verification mailer. And that data verification mailer allows the property owner to verify and make corrections to the data that's on file. So that is the current update as it relates to the reval process. And next month we'll have more detailed information going forward. Let the record show that Councilmember Diana Revolus has joined the meeting. Thank you. We will now move on to item 9, which is to receive the Oak Hills monthly update, financial update. And we have Joe Androsco, who is the chairperson for Oak Hill Park Authority to give us Joe.
I'm having a little trouble hearing that last part, but I think you just handed it off to me. So thank you. I'll just begin.
Yes, I did. Am I still not clear? Am I still breaking up?
You go quiet for maybe 5 seconds at a time, and I think those 5 seconds were critical to. But I think it'll work.
It was critical to your introduction.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. No, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and thanks for putting in the long hours tonight and last night and throughout the year. So wintertime at a golf course, not much happening operationally, financially. It has been relatively mild, so we've been getting good rounds and good play. It's hard to believe, but spring is right around the corner. So it's kind of a milestone when we're opening play back up on tee boxes and greens. And that's a couple of weeks away. It's going to start up again, and we're going to start generating revenue. We were only down to about $450,000 in cash. That's probably going to end up being close to our low point for this fiscal year and for this calendar year, which is about $650,000 higher than our all-time low point, because at some point we were fully committed on our line of credit. So just continuing metrics that demonstrate a pretty good financial position. The only weakness that we're seeing so far that we like to look at early in the season that could potentially indicate a downturn in the golf market is ID cards. I can't remember the exact price, but a little over $100, and you get a discount on each round that are available to Norwalk residents. Those sales are down a little bit versus prior years and versus budget. But we expect that they'll pick up again. And our season passes, which we capped at 50, we've sold 44 of them. And the incremental are not expected to be very many. So we think we've kind of got that market right. We were intending to only sell 50. We sold 44. Would we like to sell the other 6? Sure. But we think we're kind of getting the price and the demand pretty much in the right spot. So, but the kind of weaknesses there versus projections are indicative of a potential slowdown. What's not indicative of a potential slowdown is that February rounds were good and January rounds were pretty good. So we're getting people on the course even in the wintertime, and that's largely because of nice temperatures. So temperatures are only going to go up as we go into spring and summer. So these two things kind of give contraindications. But we shall see exactly how the market responds in 2023. That's kind of the business and kind of where we are in the business update. I think the thing that's on most people's minds when they think of Oak Hills is our food and beverage service and the contract negotiations that we're actively going through there. We are still going through contract negotiations. We're very close to a final answer. I will, kind of give for the first time an indication of where those are going, which in just a very high level, but it is a little bit of a different agreement. It had been a license fee, a quarterly license fee based on a % of gross revenue. And we're moving that into a more standard monthly license fee, monthly license fee. A lot of the stipulations of the contract are sticking around that make it more akin to a license agreement than a standard lease, like rights to termination. So an out clause early for the vendor, and also if the vendor is in default of any of the clauses, Oak Hills will retain a termination right, which is I think in the old it was 60. We're kind of still 60 days. We're still figuring out exactly where that's going to be. We expect to be done with this contract fairly soon, and be able to pass that draft over to this committee and to the mayor's office for review, and to kind of go through the remaining steps. I don't know if anyone recalls, but in the prior agreement, there was a amendment added for a couple of stipulations that the city wanted to see, and for the mayor's signature. In this revised agreement, we're actually working that into the standard text of the agreement, because all of it makes a lot of sense. So that will be in there. It's the exact same language, but we'll want everybody to review to make sure that we didn't make any inadvertent omissions in the new language. but largely the same contract, the same ideas behind it, a little stronger in exactly which services and what hours we want out of the operation, and a little different in the compensation package, but generally consistent with the amount of compensation that we received in the prior fiscal year. Oh, one thing I'd be remiss not to mention is that there were some arrears from the prior agreement, which are handled in the new agreement as a monthly installment payment plan. So we are contemplating that, and we are taking steps to make sure that we are made whole on all of the arrears to date.
Great, thank you, Joe. Is there a anticipated open date?
The anticipated open date for the restaurant is still St. Patrick's Day. So next Friday, not this coming Friday, but the next Friday. And it's kind of a soft open. It won't be fully operational until April, but that is kind of their kickoff event. Yeah, so that's the expectation at this point.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Oak Hills? I did have one question, Joe, as I was reviewing the monthly information that was provided. There was mention that the expenses was down because a couple of understaffing positions. Are you planning to carry those positions forward?
It was, the audio wasn't great, but I think it was our expenses are down due to low staffing. And are we expecting to have those staff budgeted next fiscal year, or are we planning to release that
Correct.
staff? Yeah, we
Yes.
are planning to have that staff. Effectively, we've been running without a general manager, which was budgeted for. We do intend to have a general manager hired in the coming months, but that hasn't been something that we've had an expense for some time now.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. See you next month. That moves us on to item 10. And apologies for my audio. I'm not sure why it's breaking up, but item 10 reads as follows. Resolution requesting for economic and community development ARPA projects in the aggregate amount of $260,000 from the ARPA American Rescue Plan Act Fund, accounts $180,000, account number noted, economic and financial impact analysis, and $80,000, account number noted, Urban Land Institute Advisory Services Program. And do we have a motion on this resolution? Hello, anyone there?
I'll move that.
Thank you, John, Councilmember John Kaides.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Mr. Burnett. I'm having trouble with my mute, but I was trying.
No problem. Thank you. And we have our Chief of Economic and Community Development, Jessica Vonachek, and Brian Badoli from the Redevelopment Agency, and I believe also Mark Dillard from the Redevelopment Agency to talk about this item.
Great. So good evening, everyone. This item has two pieces to it. So Brian Badoli will be presenting the first piece and I will be presenting the second.
All right. Well, thank you, Jess, and good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all. So as Chairman Burnett mentioned, we're proposing a portion of ARPA funds to be used, $180,000 specifically, towards economic and financial analysis of some of our larger development projects. One of the main ones we've been talking about or starting to talk about as a community is obviously Webster Street Lot. And, given the size and scale of the project, we're talking about, $250 to $300 million potential investment in the community. We really want to have some outside third-party support as we review the financials, the various pro forma documents, conduct an audit to really just ensure the mathematical integrity of some of their specific models that they're presenting us with, and the inputs and assumptions and the like. Also helping us kind of take a look at the various risks that we're all going to have to try to navigate as part of the process, take a look at the policy objectives, and then kind of map those to the financial considerations of the project, and help us do some scenario building, as we go through the community outreach process in terms of, having, what sort of development program adjustments need to be made based on public comment, and what that means from the financial plan, and just making sure that, we have some outside eyes on the numbers that were being presented. And that could be reported to you all, as we go through the process. The other piece too of this is, working to help us obtain materials, to obtain, grant funding and different, develop different strategies for public-private partnerships that are financially attractive, both to the city and obviously the overall project and community. And then specifically looking at, once we have an idea of what the sort of development program will be, doing an economic impact analysis, so that when we come to you with these projects, we're able to kind of talk about the property tax impact, the sort of impact on the business activity in the area, and talk about that in a quantitative manner. So that's going to be included as part of these sort of general P3 advisory services for these larger development projects. Also, one of the things that we want to take a look at, a portion of these projects that we're contemplating, obviously have implications to the Norwalk Parking Authority in terms of, developing existing surface lots, and wanting to make sure that we adequately assess the financials and what that means to the city, and having some, again, as I've said, a third party take a look at these things, ask the right questions, ask the hard questions, and figure out, where we're going to end up at the end of all this. So that's sort of the general overview of all this. It's really focused on economic and financial analysis, helping us pull together materials for grant writing, and then just, really providing data for us all to make, effective decisions.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Any questions or comments related to the economic and financial impact analysis? Okay, good. I guess
I'm so
we'll-
sorry. I really don't know why my mute is not working. I just wanted to very briefly, Brian, I was reading an interesting article. I know that's a terrible opening for anything, but it was in general a commentary on the challenges that municipal governments have been facing over the last, sort of decades, as we've moved more and more towards using consultants and less towards having expertise sort of in-house. And so it did sort of prompt a question. I mean, this obviously sounds like an excellent set of resources and studies and information we need, but what is your process for then making sure that these kinds of outside studies become internalized, have sort of become part of the muscle memory of the redevelopment agency, are not sort of one-time things that don't kind of build overall long-term staff capacity?
Yeah, definitely. So, this is my background. So we obviously have an element of capacity internal to the organization for us to ground truth some of these assumptions and have the right conversations and work with them to ask the right questions. So I think there is capacity there. I think when we get to the point of scale, that's where it becomes the issue. So I think wanting to make sure when we're looking at larger scale developments, wanting to have some expertise that has widespread national national experience looking at development projects around the US, or things, when you get a consultant, I look at it as, they're a tool in the toolbox, not necessarily the box itself. So I think in order, to have that capacity and to call upon that, I think is very important for projects of this scale. And I think also from a liability perspective, I think it's very important for to have multiple set of eyes on, the $250 to $300 million potential investment in the community. So I think it's really just a time, manner, place equation in terms of how I look at consultants versus, doing things in-house. I think, you could look at it as, it's sometimes another analogy I guess I could make is sometimes it's easy to, tile a kitchen, but would you want to sort of renovate your entire house and put a new roof on it? I think would be the corollary here.
Excellent. So you really feel like this is a good example of supplementing things. You wouldn't need someone with this kind of expertise all the time.
Yes.
but this is, is valuable for these projects that come up in sort of more limited circumstances. Okay, great. Well, thank you. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. It seems
No
like a
problem.
great and wise investment, as you said, given the magnitude of these projects. So thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, I guess it's over to you, Jess, to cover the Urban Land Institute study.
Great. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Yes, do you have capability?
I should.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Great. Let me just start it from the beginning. So we have a really great opportunity here at the City of Norwalk to help complete one of the goals and objectives that was identified in the Plan of Conservation Development, which was passed in December 2019. Chapter 4 of our POCD focuses on housing choice and healthy lifestyle. And within that particular goal and objective, we talk about maintaining neighborhoods and maintaining a variety and diverse set of housing stock to be able to meet the needs of our community. And there are a few ways that the POCD suggests or make recommendations on how to do that. One is creating a housing plan that focuses on answering some questions about what type of housing do we need, where do we need that housing, what is the affordability of that housing, and so on and so forth. But it also talks about the need for an affordable housing plan as well. And it talks about the diverse set of housing stock that we here in Norwalk need to be able to meet the needs of our residents and how to be able to, and really diving into a few plans to understand how to achieve those particular goals here in the city. We came to finance a number of months ago with an $8 million ARPA package for economic community development. And in that package that we presented to you at that time, we had identified $120,000 in funding that was ARPA funding for an affordable housing plan, and to be able to complete that affordable housing plan. We were delayed in being able to move forward a contract, not because of our own doing, but because the state had actually appointed a Connecticut's Future Affordable Housing Working Group. And that working group has been meeting over the last number of months to be able to put together a set of recommendations. And they put together a final report, and Lamont Daniels actually sits on that particular working group. They put together a final report where the final report offers 27 recommendations on what should be included in an affordable plan. So we have actually revised the scope with the vendor that is the preferred vendor, AKRF. We revised that scope about 3 times to be able to include the 27 recommendations that are coming out of the state. But one of the things that we realized when we were planning to do the affordable housing plan and going through that process and building out the RFP and interviewing the vendor and choosing a preferred vendor was that we realized that we really needed to go back to the POCD and look at the goals and objectives and really address it from a housing plan standpoint and a citywide standpoint, and figure out sort of what we need for housing overall and how the affordable housing plan actually fits into that larger housing universe conversation. And so that relates to the ask and the request that's in front of you today, which is a request for $80,000 in ARPA funding to be able to hold a 3-day workshop called an advisory services program that would be hosted by the Urban Land Institute. The Urban Land Institute is a group that Brian and I have worked with in the past. They're actually a nonprofit, and they have 45,000 members that are nationwide. They focus on land use and real estate challenges, and they've worked with over 800 communities to do these types of workshops. They actually come into the community and spend 3 days here. They interview at least 20 different stakeholders on the topic at hand and the problem statement at hand. And they will develop a presentation and a report that they'll deliver to us within a number of weeks. You know, it's a really unique exercise because it provides an independent, objective look at what we're trying to achieve here in the city. And we feel like the two of these pieces go hand in hand with one another, and they're complementary to one another. It may be a question of why do we think that the Urban Land Institute is the right group to be able to work with us on the particular housing plan or housing framing exercise. And I would say that based on their unique makeup and unique composition of the 45,000 land use and real estate experts across the state, they actually end up bringing in 3 to 5 national housing experts who do the interviews with the 20 stakeholders. And those 3 to 5 national experts research all of the information that we're able to give them based on housing here in the city of Norwalk. And that's how they develop their presentation and their actual report to us. It takes about 5 to 6 months to complete, although the actual advisory services program is 3 days. They'll give the report to us within a couple of weeks after that. It's a really unique time to be able to think of how to use the ARPA funding. And of course, we've seen a lot of development in the city, and we really want to be mindful and be sure that we're working with developers in the best way possible to meet the need of the community. And we feel like this is a really important initiative, and that if we're advancing the affordable housing plan with the $120,000, that it's a good time to be able to focus on the housing plan, which is identified in that POCD chapter as well. So we did actually receive approval for the $80,000 and the sole source procurement for the Urban Land Institute. We did that last month actually wasn't last month. It was only just a couple of days ago, even March the 2nd. But we did go through the Economic Community Committee to be able to seek approval from that particular group. And we wanted to bring it forward to you today to be able to request the same approval and action to be able to move it to the Common Council floor, not only for the $80,000, but also the sole source procurement. From the AKRF standpoint, that's not an item that is on your agenda as the Finance Committee tonight. We actually took that forward through Economic Community Development on March the 2nd to be able to contract with AKRF. So just wanted to be able to give you an update on the affordable housing plan, because these two are so closely knit together and so complementary and so important to one another, that we want to make sure that we wanted to provide you with that update as well.
Are there any questions? I see Council Member Brian Meeks.
Thank you. So I may have misread this. It's a 3 to 5 day engagement.
You didn't misread it. I didn't do a great job of explaining it, is really what happened. It is 3 to 5 national experts that come into the city of Norwalk, and they spend 3 days with us here in the city of Norwalk. They take a bunch of background and research before they actually arrive. And we organize stakeholder interviews and meetings with them with at least 20 people. And through the interviews and through the background material, they were produced a presentation and a report that pulls together recommendations and best practices based on their experience for being able to advance housing through policies, programs, and different financial incentives or different financial programs that may be available at the federal and state level as well. So the total is a 3-day workshop with the 3 to 5 national experts.
Okay, thanks. And then the last question, that's $80,000 for a 20-page report. So that's $4,000 a page after that 3-day meeting?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Jessica, could you share the selection process of the 20+ people that would be selected to be part of the study?
Would you like us to just explain how that may happen? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we would work very closely. Brian and I would work really closely with the Urban Land Institute to be able to develop a problem statement that we would like to be able to have addressed. And I think that the complexity of, we have ideas of what we would like that problem statement to be, but I think the complexity of that is that we do not want to duplicate or overlap any of the information that is being done by the Affordable Housing Plan. So we would like for the Urban Land Institute to work directly with AKRF to be able to make sure that the two plans go side by side simultaneously. The Urban Land Institute will help us to determine what experts are available, and we can actually change the timeline of the 3-day workshop based on the experts that we would like to work with. So they will offer us a set of different experts that we will be able to choose from, and they'll be making recommendations based on their experience to be able to help us pull together that team.
Thank you. Councilmember Nora Nadelski-Eichner.
Thank you so much, Jess. I'm really excited about this. As you know, I've talked to you, I think, about this before, feeling this need to have kind of a better overall housing plan for the city, and really understand kind of our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities so that our affordable housing plan kind of fits into and builds on that. So I'm very excited about this. And, certainly they sound like a really terrific group of people to advise. So I appreciate the work that you've put into bringing this forward. And I'm very interested to see the process. I really hope that it really brings forward something that gives us some sense of vision for, how we want the next decade to kind of look. So thank you.
Thanks, Nora.
Great. Any additional questions or thoughts? Okay. Hearing and seeing none. And well, before I call for the vote, just to be clear, the affordable housing plan had already been assigned a ARPA account number. So just for clarity, that's why it's not coming before the Finance Committee. We essentially had already approved it, but we did not approve an account number, ARPA account number for the Urban Land Institute study. So that's why it's coming before us. And pending approval, it will then be assigned an account number and then move on to the full Common Council for approval. So just for a point of clarity. So with that, we have the resolution that's on the floor. No further comments or questions. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor show by either verbal or virtual raise of your hand. I see Nora, John, Ed Camacho, Diana.
Yes.
Okay, all those opposed have the same right. I see Councilmember Brian Meeks. Thank you. Any abstentions? So the resolution passed, and we will move this on to the next Common Council meeting, which will be Tuesday, March 14th for final approval.
Thank you. Thanks for all the
Okay.
support, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, which reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute all agreements and other documents necessary to transition from its current legal document management provider, World Docs, to acquire company Net Documents. Year one, $7,900.92. Year two, $6,581.47. And year three, $8,814.96. Account number noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Ed Camacho, thank you. So we have to present this item, our IT Director, Joyce Liu, along with Corporate Counsel, Darren Callahan.
Thank you, everyone, for the evening. So we have this this is the items for requisition of a Word docs. So we have been Word docs software for a long time. So our corporate counsel is using that. So we have like multiple years of using Word docs. And just this just this year, they are notified us they got a acquisition of by the network document net documents, and the support of this software of Word docs in end of September this year. So we work together with our corporate counsel, then we go through all the documents and we work with the, so this purchase is just to transfer the existing amount we are paying for now Word docs into net document. So you can see that a supporting document there is a 3-year contract. Since we are signing the 3-year contract, they kind of give us kind of huge discount in the first year, and the second year then is into the final 3rd year. So the first year we are going to pay around $3,480 for the conversion for the migration and adding together to the first year. Then the second year will be a little bit discount, and the 3rd year. Darren, so we're here for any question. Darren, you might join us to answer any question for this software.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. Yes, that's absolutely accurate. About 8 years ago, when Mario, our current corporation counsel, onboarded with the city of Norwalk, one of the first things he noticed is that we were operating through a hard physical file system, meaning a physical cabinet file system with not a lot of space to continue to operate that way. At that time and currently, the process for managing documents for law firms, whether in-house or in private firms, is predominantly through a combination of hard file system, but centrally through a software-based document management system. And just to explain what a document management system is from our perspective, for the way we utilize it, every email that comes in to our department, we have a policy that requires that it be saved into the document management system, which means it gets put into a file. So, for example, if it was a Public Works related file, it would go under the Public Works related file management system, and then would be put into a subfolder, for example, pavement management contract 2023. And anything related to the pavement management contract for 2023 would be recorded into that system, including all emails, draft contracts, and any other sorts of communications that could be electronically recorded, scans of PDFs, anything. And what it does is it allows obviously doesn't require physical space to manage the documents, but it also allows access not only within the confines of City Hall, but it can, because it's a cloud-based system, we can access it anywhere, including in the courthouse. As long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, you can access all your documents. So it provides a level of efficiency that physical file systems just don't. We, as Joyce mentioned, we've been operating through the WorldDoc system for again about that 8-year period. Everything was working fairly well, and we were happy with the software product. But what ended up happening is WorldDocs got acquired by this company named NetDocuments. NetDocuments market is a little bit more advanced than WorldDocs. And so instead of maintaining the WorldDocs document management software, their marketing decision was to integrate WorldDocs customer onto the NetDocs platform. Presumably because they didn't want to manage 2 systems simultaneously. Didn't make economic sense. So we've been working with the next NetDocs company for, I would say, 3 or 4 months or so, discussing migration issues, discussing contractual issues, working with the purchasing department regarding acquisition, compliance, and working with Joyce in the ID department regarding data security measures and things of that nature. So we are actually in a position to move forward with this contract from a technical standpoint, and we're now bringing it to this committee for consideration. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have regarding this matter, but in a nutshell, that's what this is all about.
Yes, I see Brian, Councilmember Brian Meek's hand up, but I do have a question to Joyce. You mentioned a discount in price, and I'm looking at year 1 to year 2. I see the price going down by about $1,300. However, going from year 2 to year 3, I see an increase of almost $2,200. So where's the discount?
I can explain that. Joyce, I can explain that.
Okay.
I worked significantly with NetDocs on this. So in any software, there's multiple components of what you're acquiring. So here you would break this down into basically 2 categories. One is the licensing fee for the software, and the other is training, migration, and conversion. So the software licensing fee is $4,420.92. That is if you were to go, and this is at page 130 of your agenda materials. If you go down to the year 2, that goes up to $6,581.47, and in year 3, it's $8,814.96. So what they did is they significantly discounted year 1 from the licensing fee perspective, less of a discount in year 2, and then the full freight price in year 3, and that was a way to help facilitate the folks from going to being on the WorldDocs platform, having it, having a short sort of runway before they take it offline, and giving them an incentive to move on to the NetDocuments platform. The additional costs you're seeing, why you're seeing a $7,000 number, is the cost for implementation, training, and conversion. That's a one-time fee. So the data that we have on the WorldDocs system, it's 8 years worth of emails, PDFs, Word documents that have been saved by all the attorneys in the law department. So it's a big file. Not in terms of, say, a big file in the sense of maybe a 100-person law firm or a national law firm, but it's a lot of documents that have to be transferred over, and someone has to perform that work, and so there's a cost associated with that. There's also a need to train the attorneys in the office and IT staff to understand the difference between the current platform and the new platform, so that we can utilize it effectively. And the implementation is all part of this as well. So that's a one-time cost. It's not unusual. In fact, it's very standard. And from what we've seen in these types of contracts, and I'm not sure there's much more I can add on it. I actually think that cost was, I don't know how much, but it was discounted as well, because we kind of went back and forth and negotiated that. We felt as though that cost should be, reduced in some form, because of the short period of time in which we were being provided to move from platform to platform.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Brian Meeks.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. I'm not expecting an answer from you, but why is this not a shared service across the city? Certainly the assessors, tax collectors, and town clerks document retention needs far outdwarf yours. Well,
So-
why are you farming this out on your own?
That's an excellent question, Councilman Meek. Well, I think that the World Docs platform, again, their market was a really a lower tier market, a really a base level market. Think about it maybe as, I don't want to use a specific product, but the entry level product where there's multiple tiers of product. Net Documents is a better platform. It's more of a mid-tier product in their market. They have a wider reach in the clientele that they can service, and they may be actually a viable solution for this citywide. And so when we began the conversation with NetDocs, this became pretty apparent quickly. And so I've discussed this with Joyce. I mean, there's some vetting that needs to be done to determine, because I don't have the depth of understanding of what the other departments need. But I did broach this issue with Joyce. It occurred to her as well at the same time. So it was kind of a timely conversation. I've also been in conversations with our chief of public works, who is looking at bringing a more robust virtual or electronic management system online for that department as well. So there is kind of this inertia towards moving this as a citywide initiative, more in the beginning stages. And Net Documents may be the correct solution for the city, but I think that's a larger sort of conversation and requires quite a bit more vetting to make sure that that's the case.
Yeah, I would like to chip into this topic. So I did have a conversation with the Word Doc management team. So we do have a quick demo of what they can do, and they are very honest with us. They are very specialized in the law document, right? So anything but they are going to extend their area to some other area. For example, like for any document that need to be secured, storage in the cloud management system, they can be the vendor. But we are going through Darren, going through corporate counsel and get to know this documentation management system. But I'm happy and knowing because every vendor we welcome them on board, we're evaluating their security policy and everything. And I'm very happy with this company. I think this is probably a very good software that we can go for the long run. So after Darren, they make this transaction, we are going to bring to other departments' attention about it, and we can start a conversation with all the security document as a repository, documentation management throughout the city hall. So we do have that income in our plan. It's just we want to make sure corporate counsel is on put on the good step and getting into the software, and then we get to know the team to see if they can be our forever home for the future for all the document that's throughout the citywide.
Yeah, I should just add quickly, just to get to Councilman Meek's question on timing. Our World Docs software system will be taken offline, I believe August 1st. Which means that we have to move all of those documents that have been recorded electronically somewhere, or we would have a real logistical issue in our office. So there was an urgent need to move that matter, prioritize it ahead of the larger question, which is the overall document management of the city.
Any other comments or questions related to this item? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of this authorization, show by a sign of
Aye.
verbal aye or raise a hand. Let's see, Nora and Diana, your vote.
Sorry, mute problems again. I'm an I.
Problem, Diana.
I'm sorry, my button's not working. I'm an I as well. I'm sorry.
Thank you. All those opposed have the same right. Councilmember Brian Meeks and no abstentions. So the item is approved and we will move this to the full Common Council on Tuesday, March 14th for final. Okay.
Great. I just want to thank everyone and enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Moving on to the final item, item 12, which reads as follows. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment with Tyler Technologies for Tyler Hosting and Software as a service for the Munis Financials, Human Capital Management, Revenue, and Productivity modules for the City and Board of Education for a 3 renewal term for amounts as follows. Year 1, $123,104.85. Year 2, $323,144.85. And year 3, $323,144.85. Account number noted under IT software. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Ed Camacho, thank you. And we have with us again, Joyce Liu, our IT director, our chief financial officer, Henry Dakowitz, and our comptroller, Chitsime Lam, to go over, present this item.
I'll start, but I think Joyce has more of the details. As most of you know, Munis is our ERP system, the enterprise resource system that some people have described ERP systems as a central nervous system of an organization. It starts with the accounting system. It's the official books and records, a budgeting system, human resources to do payroll, and it links to everything. So we may have individual computer systems in individual departments, but they generate information that has to get loaded into Munis so that we can aggregate everything, pay bills, record revenues, and prepare financial statements and all these budget documents. So the contract with Tyler expires shortly. I don't know exactly when. Joyce has been negotiating with Munis, and she can tell you a little bit more about the details. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. So the contract actually expired February 28th, 2023, because we are going back and forth with this amendment. And so our corporate counsel, they are being very helpful. So because even though we have this 3-year renewal term, we put in for the year 4 and year 5, we want to have only 5%, we want to put a cap on it. So because our corporate counsel, they make they said they see cases like people vendor with logging 3-year contract and with no price increase and jump on you on the year 4 and year 5. So we putting in this cap in there to guarantee for the next 5 year, city will have the with a cap of 5% on this annual assess fee. And we also make a modification, add addition onto the removal of the tax billing, because we already moved this tax module from Munis to QDS. So this tax module still in this proposal amendment. The reason is we want to leave both systems up and running so we can do the tax assessor and collector can do the data comparison. So we put in the writing that as long as we put in the 30 days advance written notice for Munis, they are going to remove this tax module billing and putting the prorated credit back to our account. So that is only two additional amendment on top of what their original proposal. So I'm joined here with Chisholm. She is the expert on this the financial software. Their team is doing that every day. I also want to add in this amount is covering more than 200 users, Board of Education and city. So that is, but city is paying for this software. That's what and like Henry said, it's a backbone of our financial system. We rely on that. We rely on this system, and you can see on the page with page number. Let me see. Yeah, on the page. You can see all this module is covering by this software. So that is currently the module we are going to have. We are currently using right now. And if we are removing the $31,000 out from this the tax module, the fee will drop down into under $300,000 next year. So we're here to answer any questions that regarding this software.
I see Councilmember Brian Meeks.
Thank you. How does this line up with the previous contract? What is the percent increase they want from us?
This percent increase is 5%. Actually, this is the last year Munis is providing the 3-year contract. The last time we have is a 5-year flat rate contract with them. That is back in 2017. With this contract expires this year, they told us that start from now on, they are going to do the year by year. They are not going to be a contract with us. So it's going to be like year by year, subscription based.
Is that because of move to the cloud, or we're still running this on bare metal inside 125?
Oh, no. This is already back in 2017. We moved to cloud already. That's the cost of this software jump at 2017. Yeah, everything is in the cloud.
So my last question is, realizing Tyler's a big company, and maybe I'm talking about the garden department versus the automotive department, but seeing how bad they botched our last reval in 2018, did we ever get any recompense for that? They're just going to charge us 5% more for this contract, and we're just going to keep going with them?
Harry, maybe you can chip into this.
Brian, could you be specific about Munis botching the reval?
Not Munis. Didn't we hire Tyler in 2018 to do the reval, right?
It's two different divisions of a very big corporation.
Understood.
As you know, when we hired revaluation experts for this October 1st coming forward, we did not hire Tyler because we were not satisfied with the work they did 5 years ago. But it's hard to penalize the software side for problems we had on the reval side.
That's an interesting position, Henry. We'll have to debate that someday.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, member Ed Camacho.
I thought I heard you say that we're going to be phasing out Munis. Is that right? That we're going to be phasing it out, or was that something I heard?
It's one module, Ed.
Oh,
yeah.
Module for tax collector and assessor.
Okay.
What happened is QDS now has more than 50% of all the cities in Connecticut, and they do the software for the collector and assessor. We are the last city in the entire Connecticut that uses Munis's module for tax collection and assessing. The problem with that, so we have this ERP system for all these other functions, controllership, financial accounting, payroll, et cetera, purchasing, budgeting. But when we have a problem, there are hundreds of other clients that are going to have the same problem because they subscribe to the same module. So when we identify something, they have a very big incentive to solve and address those issues. There are other cities in other states that still use the tax collector and assessment module, but not in Connecticut. And all of those assessment and collector modules are customized by state because they're different rules. So when we have a problem with tax collector and tax assessor software module, and we call them like we do for other issues, we're sort of on the bottom of the list just because they don't have the economic incentive. When they fix it for us, it really doesn't give them any longevity, whereas problems in other modules, they have an incentive. It's not just us. By identifying problems for them to solve, they're benefiting their customer service with other things. Lisa, maybe you want to address that issue a little bit?
I'm back. Yeah, exactly the way Henry described it. Towards the end of our relationship with Munis from the tax collector and assessment perspective, the customer service was basically almost nil. We went out to bid in 2001. At the time, we had a homegrown software system for assessment and collection. And at the time, there were 3 or 4 different software companies out there that bid, and Munis was the best one. And we signed on with Munis, and we were with them from 2001 until last month. When we started out with them, they were phenomenal. They did a lot of things for us that we weren't able to do. And they were frankly part of why our collection rate has always been so high, because we were able to do statement billing. We were able to bill our sewer use on our real estate bill and a lot of things that other towns never were able to do. Going forward, I don't know how things are going to be. The bills are going to look different. A lot of things are going to be very different. But we almost had no choice. We just didn't have the customer support, but just about everybody in Connecticut, it seems, uses Munis for accounting, for their financials, for their budget preparation and things like that. So it's an entirely different customer service team at Munis that responds to issues. And as Henry said, they have a financial incentive to respond to their customers for these other modules, the HR module, the finance module, the accounting module. And we tried everything. We tried letters to their chairman. We tried all kinds of things over the course of the past 11 to 12 months. And, really nothing helped. And it's really too bad, but that's where we are.
I would just add that the assessor and collector offices, while we're going through this whole budget process, they did the Munis upgrade and then they did the conversion to QDS all in the last 6 months. And it's just remarkable that they were able to keep everything together. The other point I would make, I've been involved personally in changing ERP systems in large counties. It probably takes 2 to 3 years, a ton of money, and it never goes smoothly. There are lots of problems. So the reality is, as Lisa pointed out, QDS is now the best of breed for tax collection and assessment in Connecticut. Munis is considered still a very strong provider and vendor for ERP systems. And the problems we had with Munis were confined to tax collection and to tax assessment. I think Chitsame and others, head of purchasing, payroll, all of those departments can say it's a very solid system. It's been out there a long time. They keep investing in it, and we get the support we need to run. So it's almost like The tax collection and tax assessment module deteriorated as people migrated to QDS. And it was painful for us because we were the last ones, close the door, shut the light. But we're going to the best of breed that other cities have had success with a generic munis and with a QDS tax system. Jitsme, do you want to add anything about your experience?
Yes, I mean, as a heavy user of Munis, I mean, I have to agree with both Lisa and Henry. I mean, on the financial human resource side, we've had amazing customer service support from Munis. I know that on the end user side, it's very end user friendly for the financial, the human service side. We also have Tyler Content Manager, where we archive our documents in the system itself. And that not only archive our financial documents for our auditors, it also archive employee payroll advices, so their W-2 information in there. And we also use the portal for health benefit open enrollment each year. So there are a lot of, I think, features that are useful and utilized for the different departments that we see, both for the city and for the Board of Ed. So far, we've been very happy with the system on that side of it. Also, Munis has this, we call it 3 environments that they offer to us: the production environment, training environment, and the testing environment. This is a really good tool and resource that we use for training our employee to how to use the system.
I would also add, just because it reminded me, we've gotten a lot of efficiencies on the workflow system from when a department wants to make a purchase and they have to make they have to go out, look at different vendors, a request for qualifications. Then it might go to an RFP. Then we have purchase orders and it routes through the system. Then when the invoices come against the purchase orders, there's a whole lot of documentation that has to support that when Shitsume's accounts payable group gets that. And we've been automating that. So the amount of documents are now electronically scanned in by all the departments so that when it gets to AP, they have, whenever they have a question, they have the documents right there. It's not a pile of paper. So Munis has accommodated us as we've been trying to automate and get more efficiencies. And I'll just say, based on my impressions of the department heads that I work with, that except for tax assessment and tax collection, the support is good and the software is, it's been out there, battle tested, and pretty solid.
Thank you all.
Greg, we can't hear you.
You still have your hand raised? Do you have another follow-up question? Okay, Councilmember Brian Meeks.
Yeah, real quick. I'm not opposed to Munis at all. From Tyler, I'm opposed to what Tyler did to the city 5 years ago. I'm going to vote no on the contract, but I'm glad you're not doing an ERP conversion on top of it, an assessment conversion and other things. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I would just add, Brian, that I wasn't here 5 years ago when we had a contract with Tyler and when they disappointed us.
I would never hold it against you.
Just going on the record.
Thanks.
Okay, there being no other questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of this authorization, show by a raise of hands.
Aye.
Verbally, aye. All those opposed have the same right. Councilmember Brian Meeks, any abstentions? Seeing none, the authorization pass, and we will move this on to the full council for review and approval, March 14th.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you so much.
thank you. And for the record, let the record show that Councilmember Ed Camacho joined the meeting at 7:30 p.m. So at this time, being no further items on the agenda.
Motion to
call for
adjourn.
Okay. She's so
Good night, all.
proactive. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Have a good night, guys.